In 2012, a game called Sleeping Dogs released and quietly became one of the greatest open-world crime games ever made, and definitely one of the most memorable ones. Sleeping Dogs combined martial arts combat, undercover police drama, and the atmosphere of classic Hong Kong action movies into something unique. But what makes the game even more interesting is the chaotic story behind its development. The game actually didn't begin as Sleeping Dogs. Development started around 2007 under the name True Crime Hong Kong. It was being developed by United Front Games and published by Activision as part of the True Crime franchise. The developers wanted to create a more serious and cinematic open-world experience inspired by Hong Kong crime films like Infernal Affairs and classic martial arts movies. Instead of focusing mainly on shooting, the game emphasized brutal hand-to-hand combat, fast driving, and undercover police work. To make the world feel authentic, developers traveled to Hong Kong, studied the city's culture, and interviewed police officers and former gang members. They wanted the streets, markets, and nightlife to feel alive. And honestly, they succeeded. The city in Sleeping Dogs still feels more immersive than some modern games with 10 times the budget. But during development, problems started appearing. The project became expensive and faced multiple delays. In 2011, Activision officially canceled the game, saying it wasn't good enough to compete in the open-world market. For most studios, that would have been the end. But then Square Enix stepped in and bought the rights to the project. Since Activision still owned the True Crime name, Square Enix had to rename the game to Sleeping Dogs. And somehow, after nearly being destroyed, the game finally launched on August 14th, 2012 for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC to bless us this.
Hello, Mr. Shen. Or should I say, Officer Shen. The last cup I had in this chair lasted almost 48 hours. Would you like to try for a new record? Call me when he comes around. There's no rush.
This is your last chance to come in clean.
What's he gonna do? Arrest me? Call me a rogue cop?
I don't know what he'll do.
I am doing what needs to be done.
Wei here's the real deal.
Why are the bad ones always so good looking?
Bona fide tribe killer from the streets.
How'd you think this was gonna go down? Whatever it takes, you remember that?
Betray your brothers, and you will die 1,000 times over.
This motherfucker right here is a snitch! I came on to take down his son on you, not to shuffle the deck.
We knew you would become personally attached.
You tell Mr. Lee that his people stay the fuck out of our territory, and in return, we'll let him live. It's war now. You want the chairman? I report to him now. You want the Red Poles? I'm one of them. Show these motherfuckers what it means to be Sun On Yee!
That's what worries me, Wei. You're one of them.
What happens when an undercover cop spends so long pretending to be a criminal that he slowly becomes one? That's the core idea behind Sleeping Dogs, one of the most underrated open-world games ever made. But beneath all the action, martial arts combat, and insane car chases, Sleeping Dogs tells a surprisingly emotional story about identity and corruption. The story begins with a man named Wei Shen. Wei grew up in Hong Kong, but after a troubled childhood and connections to street gangs, he eventually moved to the United States with his mother. Years later, he returns to Hong Kong as an undercover police officer, where he meets Officer Pendrew, who gives him the task to infiltrate the powerful Sun On Yee Triad organization and help destroy it from the inside. Basically, pretend to be a violent criminal long enough that everyone trusts you. a plan created by people who clearly never worried about psychological stability. Right from the start, Wei reconnects with an old friend from his teenage named Jackie Ma, who introduces him back into the criminal world. Through Jackie, Wei reunites with his former childhood friend, Winston Chu. Winston is a rising member of the Sun On Yi and controls part of the North Point district. Winston gives Wei a chance to prove himself, and soon Wei starts doing jobs for the gang. Debt collection, street fights, intimidation, stealing vehicles. The usual gang activities. Wei quickly becomes valuable to Winston because he's smart, calm under pressure, and extremely good at beating people unconscious with nearby objects. One of the most memorable parts of Sleeping Dogs is its brutal environmental combat. Enemies get slammed into phone booths, fans, dumpsters, and fish tanks. An absolute chaos. I also want to put some limelight on its combat mechanics. There's a whole skill tree for combat, and other skills like staling cars, disarming enemies or policemen, and more. These can be unlocked by filling the trade and cop meter by doing certain tasks. Trade 1 can be filled with beating enemies more brutally, whereas the cop 1 filled by being careful and not damaging government property or civilians. Anyways, back to the story. As Wei rises in the organization, he earns the respect of several important Triad members. One of them is Conroy Wu, Winston's loyal enforcer. Another is Doug Eyes, a violent gang member who constantly clashes with Winston. Dog Eyes is reckless, cruel, and the main villain of the game. Eventually, the rivalry between Winston and Dog Eyes explodes into open gang war. At the same time, Wei is secretly reporting information back to the police. His main police contact is Superintendent Thomas Pendrew. Pendrew pressures Wei constantly, demanding faster results and more arrests. But the deeper Wei goes undercover, the harder things become, because now he's building real friendships with criminals. And some of them genuinely trust him. One of the biggest turning points in the story happens during Winston's wedding. Winston marries his girlfriend Peggy in a huge celebration. For a brief moment, things actually seem hopeful. Wei laughs with friends. The gang feels like a family. There's food, music, celebration. Well, the celebration is short-lived, as soon after, at the wedding, Winston and Peggy are ambushed by rival gang members. Peggy is killed. Winston survives at first, but later dies in the hospital. His death changes everything. Without Winston holding things together, chaos spreads through the Sun On Yi, and Wei takes the loss personally. That's important, because at this point, Wei is no longer just playing a role. He genuinely cared about Winston. The game's character development is also pretty great, as the death of Winston hurts us too, and we get attached to all the members of the gang by now. Then, after Winston's death, the Triad leadership starts shifting. Wei begins working under Henry Big Smile Lee, one of the most dangerous and ambitious members of the organization. Big Smile Lee is ruthless and power-hungry. He wants total control over the Sun On Yi. Wei also meets Uncle Po, the aging chairman of the Triad. Unlike the others, Uncle Po respects Wei. He sees potential in him, and this creates a major internal conflict, because the people Wei is supposed to destroy are starting to treat him like family. Meanwhile, the police continue demanding results. Pendrew becomes increasingly aggressive, caring more about arrests than Wei's mental state or safety. Wei is trapped between two worlds. To the police, he's becoming too criminal. To the criminals, he's becoming trusted, and eventually, those worlds collide.
Goddamn police! Why don't you show some fucking respect?
Why don't you? And anyone who stays here deserves everything they get.
After which, Wei finds out that Dog Eyes was the one who did the attack at the wedding from Mrs. Chu. Wei then finds Dog Eyes and charges him in a boat and catches up to him, where Dog Eyes tries to attack Wei from behind, but he gets caught and brought to Mrs. Chu, whereby Wei, where Dog Eyes is dragged into the back room of the Golden Koi restaurant. Mrs. Chu forces him to eat soup made from Johnny Ratface, the same man Wei previously delivered to her. Then, she brutally kills and dismembers Dog Eyes with her meat cleaver as revenge for Winston and Peggy's deaths. From that point onward, Wei's status inside the Sun on Yi rises fast. Because he helped avenge Winston, Uncle Po promotes Wei to Red Pole, making him one of the higher-ranking members of the Triad. Soon after, a power struggle begins inside the Sun on Yi. Two major figures emerge: Big Smile Li, ambitious, violent, and hungry for power; Broken Nose Jiang, calm but ruthless, wanting balance in the organization. Wei begins working with Jiang while also trying to keep his undercover identity hidden from the police and the Triads. At the same time, the war with the rival gang 18K intensifies. The Golden Koi restaurant gets attacked, and Wei helps defend it alongside Winston's old crew. Then the story becomes more personal. Wei's best friend Jackie Ma starts getting deeper into Triad life. Jackie admires Wei and wants to become a real gangster like him. Wei tries to protect him, but Jackie gets kidnapped by Big Smile Li's men. Wei rescues him during a mission, and Jackie says he wants out of the gang life afterward. For a short moment, it feels like things might calm down, but they don't. During the Sun on Yi leadership election, tensions explode. Big Smile. Li wants to become chairman after Uncle Po's death. Wei and Jiang oppose him.
I say I should be chairman.
Perhaps temporarily. We should go
Wait!
with...
We need to have a proper election. That is the way it has always been done. It's the Sun on Yi code.
Ha! You, a woman, talking of code. You should never have been allowed to be Sun On Yi.
But I was, and my contribution to this organization have been significant.
With respect, I have to agree with Sister Jay. We need to restore stability and order, and that means clear thinking. We should follow our tradition.
Wei tries to call Jackie, but he doesn't pick up. Then he finds Jackie's body hanged, drenched with blood in the moment. While Wei is in despair, someone attacks Wei and makes him unconscious, after which one of the darkest moments in the game happens when Wei is captured by Mr. Tong, connected to Big Smile Li. He's tortured brutally for information.
My name is Mr. Tong. Perhaps you've heard of me?
Fuck you! I'm no cop!
Your friend Jackie didn't think so. He was most loyal, but then I expect you wouldn't have told him anything.
You must be a very dangerous man, Wei Shen.
The scene is important because it shows how much Wei has sacrificed.
Your energy, Mr. Shen. You'll need it. The last cup I had in this chair lasted almost 48 hours. Would you like to try for a new record?
I understand your personal reasons for doing this, your history with the Sun on Yi. You do what must be done.
There were rumors. Before I'm done with you, you will confirm them. And then you will die.
That's what worries me, Wei. You're one of them.
At this point, nobody sees him as a police officer anymore, not even himself.
It's the attitude that makes us strong. Loyalty, discretion.
Zhang will be disgraced, and Big Smile Li will be elected head of the Sun on Yi. Call me when it comes around. There's no rush.
But Wei escapes and kills Tong.
Now, where were we?
Sorry, Jackie.
And after escaping, he becomes even more determined to uncover the truth behind the Triad leadership. But then Wei discovers something shocking. Superintendent Pendrew, the police officer supposedly fighting corruption, is actually working with the Triads himself. Pendrew has been manipulating the gang war for profit and power. He used Wei as a tool while secretly protecting certain criminals. There was a deal between Uncle Po and Pendrew that Po would keep it a secret, and Pendrew would not interfere with Uncle Po. Pendrew frames Wei and tries to eliminate loose ends, but Wei finally snaps, not as a cop, not as a triad, as someone who's tired of being used by both sides. Wei goes after Big Smile Lee first. In one of the game's most iconic moments, Wei kills him during a brutal fight at a fish market.
Fuck you!
It's savage, personal, and symbolic of how far Wei has fallen into violence. After dealing with Big Smile Lee, Wei confronts Pendrew and exposes his corruption. By the end of the game, the truth finally comes out. Pendrew is arrested, the corrupt system is partially exposed, and Wei survives, but victory doesn't feel clean, because Wei lost pieces of himself along the way. The remaining members of the Sun On Yee acknowledge him with respect, and that final moment says everything. Wei succeeded as an undercover cop, but emotionally, he no longer fully belongs anywhere, not with the police, not with the triads. He became trapped between both identities, and that's why Sleeping Dogs still stands out years later. Underneath the action and open-world chaos is a story about loyalty, identity, and how pretending to be someone else for too long can slowly destroy who you really are. It's part crime and police drama, part martial arts movie, and part emotional tragedy. And somehow, it balances all of that while letting you hijack motorcycles and crash through fruit stands every 10 minutes. Even after all these years, Sleeping Dog remains one of the most unique open-world crime games ever made. A mix of brutal combat, emotional storytelling, and undercover tension that deserved far more attention than it got. Honestly, the fact this game never received a true sequel still hurts a little. Somewhere in a corporate meeting room, a perfectly good franchise was sacrificed to the ancient business ritual known as bad financial expectations. This game still shines till this date. I might be a little biased on this cause it is one of my favorites, and there is so much more to talk about. The video can easily become 1 to 2 hours long if I talk about all of it. However, what we care about is this, and this, and this. I hope you would have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this on other games. Till then, peace out.